Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Rowing Chat podcast. I'm Rebecca Caro, and I vastly appreciate it every time somebody new subscribes to the podcast. We have a website, rowing.chat, and if you'd like to get an email notification once a week of new episodes, just go there and sign up to subscribe. Today, I'm delighted to welcome as my guest on the show, Catherine Humblet.
Thanks for having me, Rebecca.
So, Catherine, you are a rower, on-water rower yourself. Tell us a little bit about you and your background in rowing.
Yeah, so like many people, I started rowing at university. I walked onto my team at Brown after receiving some very nice glossy pamphlets in the mail talking about how successful they were, but not to worry, they fielded, first, second, and third boats. So as long as you showed up and did the work, you'd be able to race. And I thought, well, that sounds wonderful. I've always wanted to be on a good team. I was a total nerd in high school. And so I showed up and to my surprise ended up being in the top 8 all 4 years, won a national championship my sophomore year, and kind of, found that activity that really anchored me for the rest of my life. So post-graduation, learned to scull, was on the US national team for a few years, and then retired in 2004, went to business school and, started my quote unquote real life.
Yes, right. Yes, as one does.
As one
But
does.
today you're here to talk about an app that you've been developing for the indoor rowing machine.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we've started an indoor rowing company called Indoor Collective, and what it allows you to do is you connect your Concept 2 Row Erg to your mobile phone or tablet, which brings you into this new great virtual world where you can row solo or you can row with teammates.
So the idea is you take this sort of crew feeling of being in a boat together into the gym.
Exactly. To the gym or at home, what we wanted to do is create like a new virtual world, but that really tapped into the DNA of rowing. And the DNA of rowing for me and for the people that I talk to has to do with teamwork, the idea of being in a collective group. And one thing that mattered to me personally is, that feeling when you look at the water and it's perfectly flat and it's sunny and like your soul just like sings in a particular way. We wanted to
Absolutely.
bring some of that into our visuals.
Okie dokie. That is amazing. And what gave you the idea for this?
So there were a few things that were going on. So one of it was just, me personally, working too many hours, just feeling my fitness starting to slip, and especially my core strength. And every day I'd be like, I really need to erg more. I just need to get back on the erg. It's going to be the most effective thing that I can do. But every time I did, I lasted about 7 minutes.
Oh,
I tried every trick that I could do. I could not actually do a full workout. I would just get up and leave. And I thought, you know what? Somebody should build an app that makes erging way more fun and motivating because I really need something like that. And this was in the summer of 2020. So at the same time, there were all these virtual companies that were getting started. You had Hydro, Zwift, and when I thought about this experience that I wanted, I knew that I was not going to buy myself a new expensive machine. So it needed to be something that worked with, you know, my phone, tablet, like my Concept 2 erg, and um, and also I really wanted something that reflected the DNA, um, the DNA of the sport. And lastly, like with many people, I really wanted to expand the sport. I think there's so much that indoor rowing can be. If we bring in some of the goodness of outdoor rowing and like, erging doesn't need to be just pulling on a handle while looking at a series of numbers go by, right? There are other things that we can do to make it fun and to give people a taste of what it can be like and make it, give them the idea of like, oh, this is great. Like, let me go look up a boathouse. Let me go see if there's a learn to row program near me. Let me also try this on the water someday.
That's a wonderful vision because
Mm-hmm.
the 7 minutes on the erg and then you quit. I have some empathy for that.
Yes.
But equally, it's hard to explain the fun bits about the team culture until
Mm-hmm.
people have experienced it.
Absolutely. Or even, just giving, that feeling of being on the water is so unique. And, through our visuals, we also wanted, what does it feel like to row through a bridge? That
Oh,
archway where it starts to echo. That's like one of my favorite things to do as a rower. And so we wanted to bring in some of those visual elements into the game and use, do the first person perspective. So you're really like seeing the world and the water go by as you're rowing.
I think you need to talk us through some of the features of this app.
Sure. So we have a solo feature. You can just, jump on, uh, basically row a single, or you can set up a team practice. So invite your friends. And in the team practice, everybody's on a shared audio channel, so you can talk to each other.
Mhm.
More critically, the speed of the boat is based on everybody's average speed. So
Okay.
often people go in and they're like, why can't I see the other boats? And I have to explain to them, I'm like, well, it's basically because you're rowing a 4 or an 8. And that creates just a really positive dynamic where to make the boat go faster, really everybody has to go faster. So, you're not chasing your super fast friend. Your super fast friend is in the same boat with you,
Ah.
which is nice. We also have a coxswain mode.
Oh.
So you can invite your coxswain or your kid or your friend with a wonderful sarcastic sense of humor to come in and provide provide the entertainment for your workout.
Encouragement. Encouragement. Yeah.
Encouragement, yes. Obviously, you can schedule group practices, and one thing that's nice about a team boat is that you can set up custom workouts, including meters-based workouts, since you're setting them for the boat as a whole. And of
Okay.
course, you can easily upload to Concept 2's logbook.
Uh-huh. So you've mentioned going through a bridge. It sounds to me like
Mhm.
your screen is not just numbers. What do I see?
No. So you'll see our beautiful river. So you'll see flat water with sunlight glistening on it, blue skies, clouds floating through. Uh, you'll see some Easter eggs
Oh.
from Boston in particular, which is my hometown.
Uh-huh.
And we've tried to create, it's a little bit of a fantasy world. Think Charles River with a little bit of Rio, a little bit of Vancouver, Canada. Just trying to do something a little different.
Mm-hmm. And this just flows past you visually. And do you see numbers on the screen as well?
Yeah, so you still see your overall time, your splits, your total distance traveled, and of course your boat is moving through the river at your actual speed. So as you go faster, it goes by
Yeah.
faster. As you slow down or you stop, it stops.
And are you looking backwards, as in you're sitting in a rainbow, or you're looking forwards like a coxswain?
You can choose.
Oh.
So our default is, the coxswain bow seater view. As a longtime bow seat in a double, I personally like to see where I'm going. But you can flip your camera angle and look backwards
Mm.
in the more traditional uh,
Mhm, mhm.
rowing view of the world, if that's your jam.
Fantastic.
Mhm.
Now tell me a little bit, you've been going for a few months now. What sorts of people are using the Indoor Collective?
So we are in over 60 countries, which is just an amazing testament to what a universal sport this is.
Mm,
I think one of my favorite sort of user stories is what Athletes Without Limits is doing. So they're a veterans group,
mhm.
and they're using it to connect veterans that are rehabbing at Walter Reed, and they're able to do virtual group practices with teammates who are at home or stationed on different bases. And so they're really able to interact and get that feel. We're also seeing, a lot of, I rode with a guy who's down in Alabama
Oh.
who is, rural Alabama, ergs out of his barn, and we once a week would get together and do 30 minutes and
Mm.
just chat and get to know each other. We have very, different backgrounds, but, we would just be there and be present as we did the erg, and then we would always finish with a 30-second sprint, which we would then note
Oh,
our times to see if we were actually getting faster.
That sounds absolutely delightful. How did he find you? How do you set up a practice, and can anyone just join?
So you do need to know the people.
Uh-huh.
So right now, I obviously can see everybody's usernames, but if people are interested and you don't know anybody who ergs, the best way to do it is just drop me an email, and
Hmm.
I I know not that it's like Big Brother watching you, but it's very easy for me to find people in similar time zones who are doing on the or in the app for similar amounts of time, and start to make those connections and help you find virtual training partners. And I'll say it really does make a difference to have somebody in your ear, telling you that you're doing a good job, who's going to call you out if you stop or if you slow down or if you disappear. It's really helpful. I'm, you know, 30 minutes now for me goes by in a
Mm.
heartbeat, which has done wonders for my fitness.
Yes. Yeah. There's no question that the erg is a very good fitness tool, and it's always much more fun doing it with a friend.
It is, and I think as outdoor rowers, we forget that it's a great motion.
Mhm.
There's, my sister is my co-founder, and
Oh,
she has never rowed before in her life. She just picked up the sport because I convinced her that as a software engineer, this would be a really fun project for her to work on. And she's like, "Gosh, like this is great. I'm getting fitter. It's a challenging motion. It's a full body motion." She just honestly enjoys it in a way that like outdoor rowers forget that it can be very enjoyable.
I think that this is the difference between masters and high school and collegiate rowing.
Yes. They don't have that trauma of the 2K erg test, deciding their future.
Well, you can still choose to do it.
Mhm. Yep,
It's optional though.
exactly.
Now, what's coming up for Indoor Collective in the next few months?
So, yeah, we're continuing to build on our central thesis, which is to make indoor rowing more social. So, we are launching an event series this summer, which will be super fun, recreating that feeling you get as a race, but since this is um, you know, a virtual make-believe world, we're drawing from the best of, running races, rowing regattas to make the whole experience really fun, doing it with different distances, so we're not constrained to the traditional 2K, 6K
Mhm.
distance. We'll be throwing
Mhm.
in some random shorter sprint work in there to keep things fun. And then
Fantastic.
also building out some of our gameplay elements. So, in rowing, when everybody's in sync, the boat goes faster, and we'll be
Ah,
building out features like that virtually as well.
now that sounds challenging.
Well, rowing isn't just brute force. You also need to use your head.
Okay, so talk us through how, getting in sync in terms of your rating. How are people going to understand that? Because you
Mhm.
explained earlier that the screen only has one boat on it. Um,
Correct.
how do I find out if I'm not in sync?
Well, so one thing in the team boats is you do get to see everybody else's splits and everybody else's rating, which freaks everybody else out the first time when you explain that their numbers will be visible. But it's actually a really nice thing because when you're going faster, your teammates call you out. So if you PR, people will compliment you on your great workout. If you're not feeling well, people will encourage you and keep you going, so you can see everyone's times. And that's the first one. And then the second one is, even with the headphones. So when you row in a team boat, you do put headphones in, and
Mm,
that dampens the sound of the erg fan,
mm,
but it's just loud enough that you can kind of hear it in the background, and it actually sounds very similar to the sound of water going by and the sound of your seat rolling. So there's a
mhm,
fair number of audio cues that you can get to sync up in the game
mhm,
as well.
mhm. And your coxswain, of course.
And you have your coxswain who can tell you to speed up that extra beat or two.
So the coxswain just sees a display of everybody's numbers. Is that correct?
Yep. So the coxswain is obviously on the same audio channel, and then they're seeing the same visuals. So they're
Mhm.
seeing when you go under a bridge, everybody sees their boat go under a bridge at the same time. So it's just like coxing a boat where everybody's seeing the same thing.
Fantastic. I think gameplay sounds very interesting because gamification has long been a feature of very successful apps.
Yeah, and it's fun. I think indoor rowing is, or erging is such an amazing exercise, and what it's been missing though is like that sense of joy and that sense of play that you can get with it.
So if someone's listening for the first time today and thinks, how do I find out more? What should they do?
So they should go to the App Store, so either the Apple Store or the Google Play Store, and you can search for the app, which is called icy.row, or search for Indoor Collective, and will pop up. And we're in our free beta version, so you should definitely sign up soon and download it while it's still free.
For sure. And you have plans to make it a paid-for app in the future, do you?
We do, yes.
Fantastic. And more information on the website, which is indoorcollective.com. And how else can they connect with you personally?
Well, if you can send me an email at Catherine@indoorcollective.com, or if you email info@indoorcollective.com, that will also go to me.
Fantastic. Catherine, it's been a delight. Thank you very much for coming and talking about this exciting new development, and congratulations for building a community and for supporting such incredibly worthwhile endeavours as veteran servicemen and women rehabbing from injury. So that's amazing.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. If you ever want to row a virtual 2x with you and get your 30 minutes in on the Ergo, give me a shout. We'll set something up.
That sounds brilliant. And thank you to everybody who's listening today and who loyally supports us here on Rowing Chat. Please tell your friends, and if you have time to leave us a review, we also appreciate that. And till next time, this has been Rebecca Caro. Bye-bye.